Hi everybody. So, hello. Today I actually wanted to start a series of astrology, and I am going to start off with Pisces. Now, I don't want this to be too formal, so I'm not going to put that pressure on myself, but we are going to discuss in depth and in length Pisces and what Pisces entails of, the energy of Pisces. And I'm going to add my unique personal touch of enlightenment to add to it the beautiful Erimoshi Wolfie. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Joanna Martine WoolFolk both have to say about the energy of Pisces. So why did I choose these two books? Let's answer that first. So the book by Joanna WoolFolk, which is titled The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need, is, I want to say, probably the most straightforward, basic, mainstream Barnes & Noble astrology book you could ever find. And so it has all the information you really need to kickstart, just like it says in the title. And it also has enough, in-depth or detail or abstract information to where you're more than just a beginner. You're already an intermediate just by this kind of book. And so it ties in intermediate ideas relating to astrology as well as the mainstream ideas. So that's why I chose this book, to focus on mainstream, which is what most people recognize. And then I chose the book by Erimoshi Wolfie, which is Evolutionary Astrology, A Beginner's Guide. So this book, it's an ebook on Erimoshi Wolfie's, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I'd be saying it so much, on his website. Please go purchase it. It's like $25, and it's literally, this is how good it is. Every time before I go to read it, my body jerks into a reaction of intense gratitude, and I begin to cry. That's how good the book is. That's how on point, accurate, aligned, informative, perfectly well spoken, well typed, well transcribed. Just a beautiful book about the evolutionary process of each astrological archetype, which goes to show how an astrological archetype energy evolves and changes over time. And so I do want to give this brief preview in every episode. But yes, I could not recommend more the book Evolutionary Astrology, A Beginner's Guide, if I'm being honest, between the two books that I have here. It's just amazing and beautiful. Just work straight from God. Couldn't put it in any other words. All right. And so we're doing Pisces. All right, so we know Pisces as the two fish that are tied together with a line, a string. And the hieroglyphic of Pisces, the symbol, is two outward parentheses with a line connecting the two. And this symbol is meant to represent how we're tied down to the physical world. That's why also Pisces represents the feet. So we're planted in the physical world. But the two parentheses that kind of face outward are reminding us that we're entirely energy, spirit, soul, and consciousness. But the line that connects the two is the matter that's tying us down to be third dimensional. Pisces also represents the feet in the body. And in the birth chart, it is the 12th house This can be recognized as the last house between 1 to 12, the last house in the birth chart. However, some people who practice astrology are under the perspective that it's actually the first house instead of Aries, because Pisces represents, and Eri Moshi says this, the womb is a good example. Pisces represents the before and the after, the before life and the afterlife. Pisces also represents the 12th house, of course, which is the imagination. When you read a book and you enter a new world, when you escape your present third dimensional reality and you go somewhere else, whether it be your imagination or a book or a dream, right? You're escaping the confines of the third dimensional reality and going outside, just as the hieroglyphic shows us, which is 2 parentheses facing outwardly. And so you expand outwardly, you go outwardly, right? And you see beyond the third dimensional veil, beyond the third dimensional world. A lot of Pisces, or the energy of Pisces, thrives within the imagination. They thrive within their dreamlike state when they're dreaming. They thrive in meditation. They thrive in the, what's that? The twilight zone. You know, that 3 a.m., 2 a.m. where paranormal and reality mesh together and the spirit and the material become more visible in their oneness. You know, that's where Pisces lays. It's in the infinite possibility of what could be versus what is. So Virgo, which is the contrast of Pisces, the sister sign, so they're contrasting in the birth chart, in the birth wheel. Virgo is 6 and Pisces is 12. Virgo represents the physical body in its manifested form and how we, through our detailed day-to-day life, keep up with its maintenance and its health and its survival and sustenance. Versus 12th house in Pisces, what it represents is the internal world which escapes the third dimensional. It is that which is not presently in front of us. So this is why Pisces is represented or ruled by the planet of Neptune, which people seem to attach the word illusion or deception. They like to use those words, which I kind of, I'm iffy with, because they sound negative. And I'm not trying to inherently say that Pisces is negative. So I don't really agree with the word illusion and deception, which is commonly used to refer to Pisces and Neptune. I like to say that Pisces and Neptune challenge the confines of the third dimensional, logical, clear, present reality. And they like to go beyond it. So they like to live in the imagination. They like to watch a lot of cartoons and dive into new worlds that don't really align with humanity in third dimensional reality. So they like anime, or they love books, something that doesn't really remind them that it's human. So they like books about vampires and the supernatural and magic and spirit and consciousness and the dreams, and something that just takes you away from the logical and the normal. Like, we're trying to be, what Pisces finds its pleasure in is the oneness of reality, where a cartoon character can have just as much as personality as a real life human being. And so watching a cartoon can elicit empathetic and compassionate feelings from me just as much as a human can. So if I'm watching a cartoon and they fall and they scrape their knee, I'm going to feel bad for them. But they're just a cartoon. But I'm a Pisces. And so I see beyond the third dimensional limitation of what the logical person would say. Oh, the logical person would say, why do you feel bad that they scrape their knee? They are just a cartoon. But Pisces energy says a cartoon shares the same feelings of oneness, that a human can. I see empathy and compassion beyond what you see as third dimensional reality. Right. And so when they go into their worlds, when they read books or they escape in their shows or their music or their imagination or their dreams or their own creations, a lot of Pisces are good at creating novels or movies or scripts because they can literally live and create worlds that are separate and outside the confines of the third dimensional reality, and they can equally feel with their emotions the experiences which reside outside of the third dimensional reality. So they can literally immerse and integrate themselves with the imagination, and it feels so real. Because also remember, Pisces, the energy of Pisces is a water sign, and it's a mutable water sign. What does this mean? Water sign is inherently driven and based in an operative manner where it prioritizes its emotions. It utilizes its intuition to read the room and emotionally kind of like have a empathy radar with emotion, read the room. And now that I know the energetic stance or the emotional stance of the room, I can adapt to it, shift who I'm being and how I'm presenting my expression to be in a manner that I will fit in with the present energetic or emotional environment of the room, of my reality. And then I will succeed and thrive here, and I'll be safe. The word mutable is something that it's like a chameleon. It can adapt and easily mold and shift to its present circumstances in order to succeed and thrive. And so Pisces is very interesting in the way that not only are they emotionally intuitive, so they walk into a room and they look around and their radar isn't a logical perspective, a logical screening. They don't look in the room and say, oh, no one's hurt. The room is chill. No one's crying. It's chill. No, they walk into a room and they gather on the little things, the body emotions, the facial expressions, the way people speak, the tone of voice, the energy people carry when they express themselves. They notice the small things which refine and describe the state of being, the state of emotion. It's almost like a psychic ability, an intuitive ability to understand emotionally through an empathetic extra sense what the emotional state of the room is or the emotional state of a certain person is. And through that identification, through that awareness, through that observation, they can shift how they're presenting themselves to be and how they're going to express themselves to be in a manner that is harmonious to what they're currently perceiving intuitively the room to be. Right. And so they're mutable. They're like a chameleon. They can shift according to what they intuitively perceive their circumstances to be. Okay. So yes, Pisces is super interesting in the way where also they are familiar. They're familiar with emotional empathy and compassion because since childhood, they're doing it with every book they read, every show they read, every toy they play with, every new lesson they learn, every new experience they have. Since childhood, every newness, every new moment, every new experience is being filtered through an emotional, empathetic lens. So we're Pisces since the beginning of time, since they're born, it's constantly taking in emotion, whether it be its own or something else outside of it. Maybe it sat on its own pretense, whatever. But also, if it's watching a movie and the person in the movie is really sad, it's going to take that sadness as its own. So since birth, Pisces is constantly experiencing the range of emotion, because that's literally how they read and perceive. And so they're driven and operated through an emotion intuitive ability to read the room and then adapt to it and succeed. So I want to talk a little bit about the 12th house, which again is ruled by Pisces. So that's where Pisces lives. That's the house of Pisces. And here you represent the dream, again, the dream world, the imagination, you know, everything that's unseen, the spiritual, life before being born and life after you're born. So it basically represents, well, you know what? Since it's at the 12th house at the end of the birth chart, it's basically when you go back home, right? When you go back to the light. You know how it's a common phrase that when you die, you go to the light. That's the 12th house. That's Pisces. That's why it also represents hospitals, because people die in hospitals. And so they go to the light in hospitals. But basically Pisces is the beginning and the end, or like the before and the after, kind of that energy. Again, like I said, Aries says it's the womb when you're enclosed within your own safe confine. Right? That's funny. So the 12th house, yes. It's like going back to the light, going back home. When you experienced your life, you lived your life, you're going back to source, you're going back to truth. And so remember, in these books, Ari and Joanna do not filter their text through the perspective of enlightenment. And so Ari Moshi doesn't say, well, the evolutionary process of Pisces is to go back to understanding that it is an energetic, infinite point of light, right? He doesn't say that directly. He does speak about his own version of enlightenment in his own way, but he doesn't say it directly in the way that I would, where it's like, okay, well, we all stem from a single point of light. When you recognize that you are literally a perfect reflection, an exact reflection of that single point of light, that means you are that single point of light. And you're infinite in potential, and you are that point of light, right? And so Aries says you basically going back to the light. But I think it's more like you're becoming aware that you are the light. So you're not going back anywhere. You're just becoming aware that you always were the light. Okay. And so I believe Pisces, the 12th house, is the realization, the energy, the archetype of Pisces. It's in the bigger picture, what it represents overall is Pisces is the archetype of coming to terms that we are the ultimate truth. We are the ultimate source. We are the ultimate home. We are the ultimate light. We are the ultimate God. We are the ultimate go back to the light. That's who we are. It is in becoming aware that we are the ultimate God, which then we have reached ultimate enlightenment. Now I say that Ari doesn't translate his text through the lens of ultimate enlightenment because, and I love him. Okay, this is like, please don't ever think this is shade. Okay, no, we're just different people. Oh my God, I love him. He still describes God to be a separate entity. But I'm telling you that God is who we are. And so, for example, let's get into the book of Ari. Let's do this. Let's start this. So what I'm going to do, to obviously avoid copyright and to definitely give Ari all the credit he deserves. Ari. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Just know I love you so much. And that'll never change. All right. I'm not going to read exactly what he writes. I will read some stuff, but I'll give you the major idea, okay? Okay, so a Pisces archetype. Again, the sign of Pisces is the 12th house and rules by the planet of Neptune. It's a mutable sign. It's a water sign. So here he wrote that Pisces truly represents the beginning and the ending of all. Like what we said, he compares how Aries is when we exit the womb and we're just born, right? The first second we're born, we're out into the official third dimensional experience. Versus Pisces being life before the moment of conception, of birth. A physical, I'm here, before that moment. It's everything before and everything after. It's almost the intangible. It's what we forget, which is the funniest thing about Pisces. It's what we forget. But the archetype of Pisces, the whole point of its existence, is for it to come to realize what it forgot in the first place. That it is the ultimate God, its own self. That there is no other God but itself. It is the light. It is the ultimate creator. So here he wrote, Pisces, we're talking about Ari Moshe Wolfe in the book Evolutionary Astrology, A Beginner's Guide. Please go buy it. It's like $25. He's the best. I love him. This book is amazing. You want it. He writes here, Pisces represents the ultimate truth of existence. The evolutionary intention within the Pisces archetype is to surrender to the truth of what is. Now that sentence is perfectly accurate. I love it. And that's a completely true sentence. That's the purpose for the archetype of Pisces. To surrender to what the truth is. And what is the ultimate truth? That we are each the ultimate truths to our own reality. We are each the own gods to our own reality. That there is no outside separate God. That there is no meeting a God or finding the God, because it was all about becoming aware that it was always us the whole time. That's the archetype of Pisces. That's the reason for it. That's the movie where it's like, oh, this whole time it was me. This whole time I was looking for the outside God. I was trying to escape and find the purpose, but it was me. I was the light. I was the God. I was the truth itself. I was the point of the journey of Pisces is I was searching for the truth. And at the end of my journey, I came to just look in the mirror and I found my solution. We came to find out that the truth is me and I am the truth. So that's the Pisces archetype. Because what's the ultimate truth? All these shroom trips later, you come to realize that the ultimate truth, it stops at one point. What is it? What's the ultimate truth? Is that we create internally based off our own energetic state, our own energetic understanding of what our reality is to be, what our own present understanding of who we are and where we are. We create. So coming to terms with the fact that we are the ultimate truths all along, our own self. We spend our life seeking to find the truth, only to find out it was us all along creating it. Because we establish what the truth is based off what our beliefs are and our mental conversations and our accepted perspectives and our identified truths and believed realities and believed truths, so beautiful. Okay, continuing with Evolutionary Astrology, A Beginner's Guide by Ari Moshe Wolfe. So he goes, the evolution of Pisces archetype can be represented in 6 stages. So now we're talking about the evolution of the Pisces archetype. And this is imperative because we all have Pisces in the birth chart. I want to remind that. We each have a birth chart which holds all 12 houses. That means we each have Pisces in our birth chart. So Pisces is relevant to everybody. And the house that is ruled by Pisces, that starts in Pisces, is going to evolve throughout the course of your life, as you do, of course. over the course of time, and understanding how the archetype of Pisces undergoes its evolution will allow you so whatever house Pisces is in, let's say it covers the 10th house, or for me, okay, Pisces is my 3rd house, and so 3rd house is the day-to-day life, and so that means that I'm coming to evolve. The evolution of Pisces in my 3rd house is happening frequently. It's my day-to-day. It's the 3rd house of day-to-day action. And so this information is relevant to me every single day because my Pisces archetype in my birth chart is undergoing the evolutionary process frequently. Why do I know it's frequently? Because it's my 3rd house of day-to-day, everyday life. And so that's why I know the clock is moving fast. Versus if it was in my 9th house of long distance, I would say, well, no, this is a evolution process that happens throughout the course of years or months. And so if, let's say, Pisces starts your 3rd house or your 4th house, this information is relevant because you get to see how your family life undergoes this evolution. The Pisces evolution, which is the 4th house family, undergoes the Pisces archetype evolution. So stay with me. So the evolution of Pisces archetype can be roughly represented in 6 stages. Innocence, hurt by existence, departure from innocence, which then develops the immune system, fame, public service, complete disillusionment, and truth. So those are the 6 stages that the Pisces archetype undergoes in its evolution. Innocence, hurt by existence, departure from innocence, which then develops the immune system, fame, public service, complete disillusionment, and truth. And so one more time, I'm going to say why this information is relevant to you, because you have a birth chart. And in your birth chart, Pisces is going to live in a certain house. You have 12 houses, and Pisces is going to rule over one of those houses. Each of those houses has a certain subject, a certain topic. According to that subject or topic, we'll say 4th house is family and roots and stability. It's going to describe. So if Pisces is starting your 4th house, so that means it resides in your 4th house of family, roots, and stability. This evolutionary process is going to be relevant in your family life, in your stable home life, and in your foundation, in your foundations, where you live, where you sleep at night, who you consider family, and things as such. So this is why this information is relevant. So we're going to start off with innocence. Okay, Ari does a beautiful job at describing the innocence stage. So again, I want you to think of Pisces as a water sign. So they're driven by their ability to intuitively read emotions based off body language, tone of voice, energetic presence. It's just like a vibe, something unseen but entirely felt, because water signs feel. That's how the water archetype operates, off of an emotion, intuitive, feeling-based motivation. And so Pisces feels. Through its feeling, it then processes what's going on and rationalizes it to have a stable and logical meaning. But it feels first. First it feels, and then it comes to understand, what the am I feeling? Let me rationalize this and make sense of it. But it's not like compared to an earth sign who will see a car crash and say, that's a car crash, I should go deal with that. a water sign, a water archetype. Again, Earth is logical based, which I just said. They'll say, oh, that's a car crash. But a water archetype, a water emotion based archetype, feels. And so it won't just say, wow, that's a car crash. It'll feel the empathy and the emotional reality that deals with the presence of a car crash and the reality of it. You know, they're aware that people are hurt, and they feel that the other person can feel bad, and that the situation is negative and it feels wrong, and there's people in pain. You know, they feel, and through that feeling, they're motivated to act and to express themselves. But again, they feel. That's how they perceive, or that's how they show up, by intuitively feeling and then making sense of that feeling. And so that a Pisces will see a car crash, you know, feel heartbreak and grief, and then be like, okay, I need to go help. But they must get over that hurdle first. Versus maybe an earth sign will say, that's a car crash, I need to deal with it, now let's go. Right? And so the first stage, innocence. The best way to understand this is, he says here, think of a newborn baby. You know, a newborn baby does not understand the reality between contrasts that the third dimension experience has to offer. As in, babies don't understand that sometimes they're born into parents who don't love them, or are not going to care for them, are not going to have their best interest at heart. You know, basically the existence and possibility of negative energy. Okay, what did we say about Pisces? What's the ultimate reason for the archetype of Pisces? Sorry. What's the I just dropped my chair, that's why. What's the ultimate reason for the archetype of Pisces? To go back to the light, to go back to the truth, the ultimate truth, to become aware of the truth, to come to terms with the truth. And what's the truth? What's the ultimate truth? That we all stem from a single point of positive infinite light. That's the truth, right? And so before Pisces is incarnated into this third dimensional reality, they are like a baby, right? Of course, in the womb. And they're like, okay, I'm going to forget all about enlightenment because that's the deal I made when I decided to incarnate into Earth. And so they're under this naive perception where everything is positive, because that's what the truth is, and they're coming from there. But when you incarnate into Earth, you forget enlightenment, and so you forget the truth. And so the journey, the whole point of this journey, of this life, is to come find it, you know, to find the truth. And people will do it in one lifetime, but people will do it in hundreds of lifetimes. Like, sometimes it'll take a long time, sometimes it won't, whatever. But the whole point is for what? To ultimately come back to the truth, right? Spoiler alert, I'm here as a cheat code because I feel like we need it. We're in these kind of dark times. But the original point of the Earth experience was for you to, you know, discover true enlightenment, which is what? That we all stem from a single point of positive infinite light. And so Pisces is aware of this before they, you know, incarnate into Earth. And so they come, the archetype of Pisces comes with this impression that, like, everything is always positive. I'm going to be born as a baby and my needs are all going to be met. My parents are going to love me. Everything's going to be good. It's only going to be infinitely positive because I know the truth. I know the truth, and that's where I come from. That's where I come from. That's what I know. That's what I know. But no. On Earth, when we incarnate, we're equally signing off the possibility for negative energy to express itself and manifest in materialization or incarnation. And so very soon, this innocence is going to have to come to terms with that, right? And so here he says that this innocence is called pre-disillusionment purity. Like you're still pure to the reality or to the knowledge that negative energy exists, and if it might just come get ya. Sorry. Anyway, not anymore though, okay? Not anymore. And so he continues to explain that this naivety would express itself to be or show up as the assumption that everything will always work out for the sake of harmony, even when that assumption is proven wrong time and time again. And so this leads you to realize, hey, what I thought was true, which is that everything is just infinitely positive, I'm coming to find out that that's not true. I'm coming to find out that negative energy, negative expression, and negative creation exists. I'm coming to find out people can be rude to me and hurt my feelings and not care. I'm coming to find out that bullies are real and that not everybody prioritizes emotions like me. I'm coming to find out that not everybody prioritizes emotions like me. And so then what's the next stage of evolution for Pisces? It's hurt by innocence. Because, well, again, it's coming to terms with the fact that negative energy is a real thing. And it's part of the playing board. It's part of the game. It's available. Right? And again, these evolutionary stages range and continue to repeat throughout the course of time and as you age. But when a Pisces archetype is just born, it's dealing with this as a baby as well. You know, the Pisces archetype deals with these evolutionary stages throughout the course of its entire being and existence in life, and it just continues to cycle and cycle and cycle in deeper degrees of awareness, because that's what reality is. It's infinite in expression. And so a baby will also go through this, as well as a 60-year-old Pisces archetype, right? We're talking about the archetype of Pisces, not necessarily the human who has the sun sign of Pisces, but we're talking about the archetype of Pisces. So according to the archetype in Pisces, basically the archetype of Pisces would have every single planet, every single sign in Pisces. So the entire energy is Pisces energy. That is what the archetype of Pisces would, transparently represent. It's Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, like everything is Pisces. That's what the archetype would represent in birth chart. And all the placements are in the 12th house, in the Pisces house in 12, of course. Everything is just like that. The only thing that might be different is the rising sign, because it has to be. Because you can't have a rising, can you? Maybe you can. Yeah, rising Pisces. You see, here I am limiting myself. Check yourself, Carla, check yourself. Anyways, what am I saying? Oh yeah, so the second stage, hurt by innocence, because you become to realize that negative energy is possible in its ability to create. So he continues to talk about that this happens, yes, even for babies. And even when you're growing up, like when you're a child, things like, I was just trying to do the right thing. I was trying to help somebody. Like, why did they get mad? Why were they rude to me? Why did they have attitude? I was just trying to help out. Like Pisces, the archetype of Pisces is really well known for, I just wanted to do the right thing because I felt like the emotional energy was off and I was trying to make it back into balance. But then they got mad because they were projecting their insecurities onto me. And so now they're being all hateful to me. Like, what the heck? I'm super shocked right now and I'm hurt and I'm disappointed. That's kind of the archetype of Pisces, where they want to heal, they want to help, they want to mend, and kind of project their belief that everything is positive and happy-go-lucky. But then we have contrasting energies, like a Sagittarius energy that'll be like, yo, stop being so emotional, and it'll contrast what Pisces believe to be truth, and then Pisces will be super shocked by that, and then be taken aback. And these kinds of shocks and realizations can lead a Pisces to even become bitter, resentful, in victim mode, or even just like super hateful and full of hatred, because it's just like you're just so shocked at the reality that your illusion that everything was only going to be positive and life was only going to treat you well is being shattered by negative energies that you're experiencing, by contrasting energies. And this is really, it can either be heartbreaking or infuriating, or it really take out a lot of emotions from you. Okay, so sorry, that was a chair. So now we're going to go on to the next stage, which is departure from innocence, developing the immune system. And so here again, Aries talks about how a shadow expression of Pisces can be to believe oneself to be a victim, because he explains here, because the Pisces archetype was too trusting, that when it experiences that kind of betrayal or shattering in its illusion that the only reality is positive energy, then the soul or the essence can become distrustful of life and scornful, resentful. It can be extreme cases, extreme cases of resentment and revenge and anger, and I think this is why a lot of, I know this is controversial, but a lot of very famous serial killers are Pisces. And that's not to say like, oh, Pisces serial killer, absolutely not. But I'm just trying to show you just how strongly Pisces is driven and motivated by its emotion. It's a water sign, and it really, the archetype of Pisces really is under the perception that, like, you don't understand what I'm feeling because I feel greater than what you're even seeing. Because it takes an emotion from things that aren't even third dimensional. Like, it can even have an imaginary act, and it like feeds into that so much to where it can take on that reality, which is great for manifestation if you're smart with it. But if you're not enlightened, it can really, really, really go south really fast, really bad. Now, if we're enlightened and we can utilize tapping into our emotions and our intuition to create out of that, a Pisces is probably the best person to be a master at manifesting. Like, just incredible with attunement and alignment with precise emotional energies. If we are enlightened and consciously creating out of our own being, out of our own internal being, an emotion, that is energetic potency, and that is power, because that is what creates that power, that potency, that energetic buildup, that feeling of fire, that emotion, that energy, that magnetism, that electromagnetism, and the mix of two, the movement, the fire, the flow, the movement, so yes. He also speaks about, Aries also speaks about how eventually the Pisces archetype is going to have to realize that if it doesn't acclimate, again, it's a mutable sign, and so acclimating is what it's good at. And so it comes to realize, if I don't acclimate to my circumstances, I am going to get left behind, because remember, the Pisces archetype who is not enlightened and starts to face all these negative energies, negative contrasts, its initial reaction which is fine because most of the time they're children when this is happening. Its initial reaction is going to be immature. So it's going to be, the only way for me to overcome negative energy is to become an even bigger negative energy, right? And so that's the immature route. Now the mature route will be, in order for me to overcome this negative energy, I have to become a more positive energy. And so in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to work on harnessing my skills and talents and what I'm good at, and then thriving at them by focusing on them. Again, each astrological archetype has infinite positive attributes, infinite neutral attributes, and infinite negative attributes. It goes in all three directions in infinite manners at all time. And so Pisces archetype can always be positive, it can always be negative, it can always be a blend of the two. Now, for the sake of encouraging and teaching people to be the best version of themselves, I would like to highlight the positive, but it's important to understand that each astrological archetype carries infinite potential in both directions, or in all three directions: positive, neutral, and negative. And so there is nothing to say positive is a good sign or a bad sign. I mean, positive is a good sign. Pisces is a good sign or a bad sign. There's nothing to say that, because it can go in infinite potential of expression in both ways. And so there's nothing to say whether Pisces is inherently good or bad. It's just about what it's being, right? And what it's being, right? Also, why is astrology a thing? Because we manifest with structure. And we do it because we want it. Trust me. Structure gives us room to build and to acquire knowledge. And then we can build with that successfully and have structure and have direction and clear vision. It helps. It's all positive energies, if you notice. That's why astrology is a thing in our reality that we're experiencing as we speak. And so, yes, whatever is underdeveloped is what the Pisces archetype is going to have to work on to develop its strength and immunity, because this happy-go-lucky, positive, optimistic innocence is no longer going to cut it. It's going to have to build some thick skin. That's what the evolutionary process of the Pisces archetype comes to be, right? It's going to have to learn to grow some thicker skin, because I'm coming to figure out that negative energy is a possible thing here. But this is the cool thing about Pisces, is when the archetype of Pisces fulfills its ultimate mission, its ultimate goal, which is what? Realize that it always was its own truth by establishing what its own truth was, because we create by our own self internally. Then you come to realize also that negative energy is not the truth. And so the Pisces archetype literally at the end of the day always has the last laugh. It always gets at the end of the day to say, ha, I knew it. I knew positive energy was the only truth. I knew it. You know, because what really is illusion? It's a negative word, a negative energy. And all negativity is what? A lie. It's a false truth. So even the word illusion is a false truth. You know, even the word disillusion is a false truth, because they're both negative. Because what's the real illusion? The fact that negative energy is the truth. So it all just comes full circle, and that's what the Pisces archetype teaches us. It's at the end of the birth chart. It's literally at the end of the circle. So for you to reach it, you have to go full circle. And that's the Pisces archetype. It's full circle. It's life before death and life after death. It's that point of full circle. It's not the circle, but the point when you finish it and the point before it. Okay, now we're going to go into the evolutionary step of fame and public service, which is actually a big one. And I'm going to give a shout out to Justin Bieber. I always do. Sorry, no, I'm not sorry. And we're going to be using him as an example, okay? And so, again, as we're talking about, when Pisces, through this evolutionary process, begins to realize, I need to refine my skills, hone in what I'm good at, and then succeed through that avenue, because if not, I'm going to get left behind, because this fucking world is, it's tough. And so it realizes, if I do something and it makes me feel good while I do it, I'm getting better at it quicker and quicker and quicker. Because again, like I said earlier, Pisces, the archetype of Pisces is amazing at aligning through its emotional like psychic abilities. Like, for example, if a Pisces is enlightened and aware that it's a conscious creator, and it says, I'm going to create the feelings of success within me, of relief and pleasure and gratitude within me, and I'm going to use my imagination and my ability to garner other people's experiences as my own. I'm going to use my ability to emotionally feel so strongly, and my emotional intuition and my emotional psychic abilities and ability to just be mutable in emotions and be able to work and just understand them and feel them so frequently. I'm going to use that to my advantage by tunnel visioning my focus to only relief, pleasure, and gratitude. And so I'm only going to build on those emotions. And so imagine how strong the potency could come to be, and then they could create for themselves through amazing potential. Because when you're a water sign, your gift, I guess, the archetype of the water sign gift is the emotional potency you can garner with focus. And so you can literally build out of emotional potency, because that's also energy, of course, right? And so you build something within your, I always like to feel it like in the heart chakra, sacral heart, around there. And you're not really doing it much through a logical sense. You can take inspiration. The Pisces archetype takes inspiration from its imaginary scenes, its dreams, the book it reads, the movies it watches, the shows it reads, because it's able to be empathetic with that which it's observing. So if it's seeing a couple in love, it can literally emotionally place itself in the position of that couple in love and be there and experience it as its own being. It's mutable in that way. It can shift in that infinite way, because that's what the truth tells us ultimately, that we're an infinite single point of shape-shifting, positive, infinite, moldable, possible light. And so Pisces can do that via its internal mental state in a swift, natural manner, while an earth sign struggles with tapping into creating emotion because it's so focused on a stable, rational, logical mind. The Pisces archetype, or the water archetype, can easily build an emotion and a potency of energy because of emotion within it in a natural, normal way. It doesn't have to try. And so the Pisces archetype is a great tool if it's properly enlightened, because it can create big and fast and strong quickly. it goes faster around the wheel once it gets the hang of it, you know? However, then Pisces is going to face again. Okay, so Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is also seen as like lack of clearness. Like we're not sure what's really there, cloudy and blurry. Like when you need glasses, it's blurry. And so again, Pisces also deals with lack of boundaries, as in they don't really have internal boundaries or emotional boundaries. Like I said, they're mutable, and they can internally identify with anything and with anybody. And so there's never really a wall blocking off its ability to emotionally align or connect or be or feel or experience. And so like there's a lack of boundaries is what I'm trying to get at, you know, because it's Pisces archetype is always taking in receptive energies around it. And so when a person feels sad, the Pisces takes on that sadness as its own. And so it wants to help the person in order to relieve both people, itself and the other party now. Not just the other party, but now also itself, because the Pisces archetype has placed that burden upon themselves, because that's how normal and natural it is for them to identify emotionally with others. They're always like taking in and observing and identifying with other people's emotions, because they're so good at intuitively tapping into them and feeling them and becoming aware of them through tone of voice, through body language, through small tiny details, you know, things like as such, or even just they feel the vibe, because vibes be felt. It's real. And the nervous system will tell everything sometimes you need to know. And water signs are super hyper in tune with their nervous system, because what? They feel. That's how they're driven, through feeling. You feel emotion, it's feeling, and that's the nervous system. And so they're super in tune with their nervous system. And so they're always aware of their surroundings, because any little tick will set off their nervous system, and then they can feel it. And so they can't even ignore it, because it's a feeling. And so when they get an intuitive hunch, they can't even ignore it, because it's a feeling. You can't ignore a feeling, it's right in front of you. Versus a thought that just comes in, you can just blow it away. But a feeling, like, you can't help but become aware and observe it, and just you have to take it into consideration. And so that's why Pisces is so good at being like clairvoyant or psychic, because they can feel what's happening before it kind of happens, you know, because energies can be felt more realistically than they are materialized, because naturally and normally energy is more felt than it is physical. I hope that made sense. Okay, so again, when the Pisces discovers what its talents are, and it decides, this is what I'm going to tunnel vision my focus into, refining my skills into, and I'm going to get really good at this and succeed through this, it starts to what? Build a collection of what? Positive energies. Because even these astrological archetypes, like the Pisces archetype, all it is the same story playing out, which is what? Positive energy, negative energy, and neutral energy. That's all it can choose. That's their only options for all creation, including the archetype of Pisces, which is what? A creation from what? The single point of light. Everything is. So even there's this archetype of Pisces. And so as they decide, oh wait, I'm good at this, they're going to start to build their self-esteem, their self-concept, their self-confidence, which is what? A collection of potency of positive energies. As that continues to grow and grow and grow, they're going to grow and grow and grow in who they are. And that means their ability to be great is just going to grow and grow and grow, right? Because the positive energy just continues to build and build and build on top of each other. And so it's a great thing. And this is where it gets tricky for them, because then they kind of can go into a route where, well, if I'm so good at this, I can just save the world. You know? Like if they kind of start, they're big dreamers. Like, that's what the Pisces archetype is. It's a big dreamer because it literally lives outside of the confines of the third dimensional reality. So they're big dreamers because they live in the infinite potential possibility of creation and expression. They're not limited. And so they want to save the world, right? And so think of like Bieber, beautiful, like the desire to hone in on your craft, to become so good at it. And then want to save the world. Save the world with your craft. And then we forget, though, that if we don't have boundaries, if we don't have strict rules, people are going to start taking advantage of us. And they're going to start prioritizing their own wants and needs over our own. So we're going to start to fall short. And so the Pisces archetype is having to come to terms with, okay, I'm going to be good at my skill. I'm going to succeed. But I'm also going to have to build boundaries and learn how to tell people, you know what? I know you want that, and I can feel that you want it, and I can feel how you want me to help you and how you need me, but I have to put myself first. Because what I feel is more relevant than when you feel. That's what the Pisces archetype has to come to terms with. And when the Pisces archetype becomes officially enlightened, really enlightened, it comes to realize that it creates everybody outside of itself anyway. So if it's creating a person to be like, I don't know, overbearing or something, the Pisces archetype just has to go into its imagination, inner reality, inner world, inner understanding of what it's experiencing it, and change it, And then the person's going to show up to be in a different manner. But the point is that a part of the evolutionary process for the Pisces archetype is to learn to differentiate between other people's emotional realities, other people's emotional states, other people's problems, other people's problems and things versus their own. And how to be able to build that wall and realize that by tending their own garden, then they can maximize their potential and help others. But if they're constantly selling themselves short in order to save others or to help others, but they're sacrificing themselves the whole time in the process, then they're going to come to realize that that's not helping anybody. Because the more you dim yourself down, the less good work you produce. Because you're all beaten down and you're exhausted and your confidence is low, and so you're producing work that reflects low confidence and low energy, and that you don't believe in yourself and things like that. And so it's imperative for the Pisces archetype to realize how powerful it is in its being and who it is, and then say, look, I'm not going to sacrifice my own well-being, my own emotional well-being to please you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to work on myself so much. I'm going to build myself up to be so greatly, and I'm going to achieve such great things through my skills and through my personal achievements, that through those successes, I'm going to be able to help you. Right? Because what's the ultimate truth? I love it. What's the ultimate truth? Complete darkness and a single point of light. And what does that single point of light teach us? That the best way, the correct way to create, the way that's going to give you positive alignment, positive solution, positive outcome, is by focusing on what? The self. By creating what? Internally. By what? Focusing on the self. By focusing on the self. By focusing on the self. By creating internally and focusing on the self. Because our origin, the beginning of all time, is complete darkness and a single point of light. And that light was the only active, alive present, alive, conscious being. That single point of light, that was it. It was alone. And so the only way for it to grow and to create everything outside of and to expand was to go what? Within. To work on itself, to go within, to create internally. To build within. Go within. Focus on you. Imagine everybody on earth focused on themselves and created for themselves through their own infinite potential of infinite abundance, through their own internal state of mind, through their own energetic understanding of what reality is, through their own perspective and lens of enlightenment. Then there would be no more problems. And if there would, they'd be the size of a pea and they'd get alchemized quickly. There'd be no more major problems. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And so Pisces, again, it teaches, it's Pisces archetype is all about coming to terms with the truth. And what is the ultimate truth? That we stem from a complete darkness and a single point of light. And that single point of light is positive and infinite in its nature. And it's the truth. And it creates what internally? And it's energy. And it's a flow of magnetism and electromagnetism. Hi everybody. So this is a new day. So I'm not sure where I left off. But I am just going to give a quick recollection of what I last remember I spoke about. And so last I was saying that Pisces needs to become clear within their own, comfort, what their boundaries are, especially when they come to terms with what their gifts, talents, and skills are. Because when they hone in on those and focus and tunnel vision on those, and they begin to get better inevitably and better and better and better, and so they become masters at their craft, and so everybody wants a little bit of their cake. They need to be able to build boundaries to say, you know what, I will help you because I feel good helping you. I'm not sacrificing myself or putting your needs above mine. I'm still prioritizing myself, and through me prioritizing myself, I choose to help you. So it's a go. It's a flow. It's a go. If it's resist, seize, and desist. And so that's where I left off, right? And I also said I was like, that Justin Bieber is also a good example. And so, for example, Justin Bieber he's a Pisces in his actually, let's pull up his birth chart. Let's see. He's a Pisces. His sun is a Pisces for sure. I know. So his ego is tied to Justin Bieber birth chart. And so Justin Bieber is somebody who obviously has a skill, who he is, refined and sharpened very well, which is performing, right? Singing, being an entertainer. And so he also had to come to terms with the fact that he wants to save the world. He wants to, be the best in a positive manner. He wants to be the best positive force. But then he came to find out that not everybody has his best interest at heart. And he had to learn the hard way. And this evolutionary process, these 6 stages are happening for him in his ego, in matters of his ego. Let's see what else is in Pisces for him. His Venus, and his Saturn as well. So these evolutionary stages for Justin Bieber are going to occur specifically within his ego, his relationships, and his maturity process, his growth process. And so he's going to have to come to terms with these 6 stages of evolution for these topics. These topics lay in his 3rd house and 4th house. So these are going to be frequent for him. These evolutionary stages are going to be happening frequently, especially within his home life, his foundation, where he sleeps at night, the people he's around the most, what he sees day to day. It's, since I don't have an in-depth, detailed description of what the mental state of Justin Bieber is, I'm not going to break it down exactly how he goes through these evolutionary stages. And even if I did, that's not really fair to his privacy. But just so you can get an overview of how the evolutionary stages of Pisces are going to affect us all according to where we have Pisces in the birth chart and if we have any placements in Pisces. Justin Bieber has his sun in Pisces, his Venus, and his Saturn. And so his sun, which is in the 3rd house of Pisces, is going to be going through pretty swift and constant realizations, which lead to an evolution and expansion in consciousness and awareness. So I'm pretty sure as he was growing up, and again, this is all hypothetical. This is not fact-checked by Justin Bieber. And so Justin Bieber can listen to me and say, hey, you're kind of wrong about that. And also this brings me on to my next point before I go into this explanation. Okay. The thing about astrology is, in the way that I perceive it, knowing that before everything, even before my belief in astrology, my main belief is that we all stem from a single point of light, a single point of infinite light, complete darkness, and a single point of infinite positive light. And so I believe astrology, the birth chart, the 12 houses, you can encompass the infinite matter of subject and find a place for it within the 12 houses in astrology, within the 12 astrological archetypes. That's my belief. However, you have to understand, now we have infinity divided by 12, which gives you what? At the end of the day, infinity. And so each house has the potential to express in infinite ways. However, there's still a structured control operating system behind astrology. And I like how this makes sense because it relates to how energy operates in the first place. It's free and infinite, but it still has a controlled structure, which is what? The mathematical equation and of positive, negative, and neutral energy. That's all you can build on. That's all we have to build on. And so that's the structure that gives us control in our creation. And so we have control of the uncontrollable, basically. And astrology is, I like it in that way because we have infinite subjects encompassed within 12 houses. And so each house has infinite potential for expression. However, there are specific subjects each house governs. For example, the 3rd house is it's ruled by Gemini, and so the archetype of Gemini represents day-to-day communication. It represents information coming from all angles. It's ruled also by Mercury, so it represents, and it's an air sign, so it's an internal communicative process which goes on quickly and swiftly as we take in the information we're observing on the daily basis. Now, typically, the average human has a pattern, a consistency in their routine, and so they'll see the same things every day, right? However, Justin Bieber here, and he has his sun in Pisces in the 3rd house, is somebody who does not see the same things every day. I'm sure things are always changing for him, especially as he was growing up. It was always something new. However, since he's in Pisces and his sun here, what's this telling me? Also his Saturn. What this is telling me, and his Venus, which is relationships. What this is telling me is that as he was growing up, he was taking in everybody else's emotional states, emotional reactions to him, emotional requests from him. It's like if I'm getting the impression that Justin Bieber felt like, okay, I was a child with big dreams. Now that I'm achieving them, I have a responsibility to save the world. Because I'm so good at my skills, I have the potential to make such an influence. I have a responsibility now, so I must save the world. How am I going to save the world? Now, again, this is a young Justin Bieber having these thoughts, and so he's going to learn through his mistakes. That's what the evolutionary process teaches us. When we're not enlightened, and we're not taught enlightenment since birth, the only way to learn enlightenment is through trial and error, through mistakes. And so he was growing up, I'm sure, and he was like, okay, I got to save the world because I can, because I literally can. The whole world is looking at me. Everyone's listening to me. I have everyone's attention. Everyone loves me. Like, I'm on top right now. I'm on fire. But then people start asking for things that he's having to sacrifice himself, or he's uncomfortable, or he doesn't want to. But because he's in this Pisces energy, which is his ego, the sun, so it weighs his self-esteem, his worth, how valuable he is in his place in society, his ego, how his separateness, how his name, his Justin Bieberness separates him from everybody else. And so that value is measured in who he is. That's his ego. And so if his ego isn't pleasing the world through the Pisces lens, it's going to be damaged. Because when you do what everybody says, what do they go? Thank you, you're the best. But when you start saying, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to have a place of boundary, what's people's reactions? Oh my God, what an asshole. Like, fuck that bitch, you know? And a young Justin Bieber was under the impression where, like, I don't want to piss people off because I can energetically resonate and feel what they're feeling. And so if I disappoint someone, I can literally feel how I'm carrying their burden. I feel responsible. And so now I'm carrying all these burdens that aren't mine. And so to avoid all that, I'm just going to do what everybody says. Come to find out, he came to find out, and when he's younger, he's going to come to find out as an adult that wasn't the right choice. It wasn't the right option. Why is that? Because not everybody has his best interest at heart. Why is that? Because most people have their own interest at heart. Because most people are not enlightened until they're operating on a survival basis. And that's the truth. And so they see light and they want to take the light for themselves to ensure their own success. But fuck what happens to the person that they're taking it from, right? And that's just what survival is. It's a neutral to negative experience that is surrounded with scarcity-like beliefs. And so Justin Bieber also has his Venus, his relationships in Pisces. And so again, Justin Bieber grew up where most of his work relationships were also his friends or his romantic. There was never a clear boundary. Again, there was no clear boundaries. His relationships and his ego were always dissolving between, there was no structure. There was no, this is my friendships and this is my work. No, it was always intermixed. There is no, this is my manager and this is my mother. No, it was always like some kind of weird blurriness, and that's what Neptune represents, where it's cloudy, it's foggy, and you can't really see it clearly, and so you're just kind of walking blindly and fuck off. Hopefully it works out. I'm just going to go with the happy-go-lucky mentality that everything works out. That's kind of what the shadow side of Pisces is, where it's like, I'm just going to rely on spirituality and not focus on the logic that's right in front of me, because if I do, I'm going to hit the realization that I'm not really safe, I'm not really succeeding, I'm not really thriving where I'm at. And so the shadow side will ignore all logic and just focus on, everything is okay, everybody loves me, I'm not going to think about how maybe some people don't have my best interest at heart, I'm not going to think about that. And so let's say Justin Bieber did that, where he was like, I'm just going to ignore my intuition, because again, he's a Pisces within his ego and his relationships, and so he can feel this confusion while it's happening. But I'm assuming he's going to go, I'm just not going to deal with that. I'm going to start drinking alcohol because he's turning, 15, 16. I'm going to start distracting myself with girls or with connections or with my job. Or I'm just distract myself with anything, and that way. And also the thing about Pisces is that's another shadow side, distraction, because anything to face the logical reality that's right in front of them, because that confrontation is going to tell them, hey, you're not safe and you're not doing the right thing. And no one really wants to hear that. So in order to really avoid hearing that, I'm just going to distract myself heavily. What's the best way to distract ourselves? Leaving the realm of what reality is. How is that? Through drugs or through alcohol or through, just immersing yourself in something for so long that you disconnect from what your reality is. And so as he was growing up, in order to avoid the obvious confusion I'm sure he felt within his intuition, because Pisces is this emotional, intuitive sign, so he could literally feel that people don't have his best interest at heart, and yet he's going against his own self-interest and still sacrificing himself to please whatever they're asking from him, and to fulfill that, just because he feels like he has to, because he can, and he has that position at the top. Okay, again, I'm just going by intuitive feeling of my own. And so Justin Bieber had to come slowly with the realization, I need to build boundaries. I need to establish boundaries. I need to establish what is right, what is wrong, what is white, what is black, what is work, what is friends. Like, I need to find and define contrast, and then be very clear on what contrast is. And, you know, and I'm sure that's when he found like Jesus, and then something like Christianity will give you a very black and white description of what is right and what is wrong. And so that's where he felt comfortable, and he's pursuing that. But yeah, again, these evolutionary stages are going to happen for everybody according to where you have Pisces in the birth chart, specifically these evolutionary stages. And so here I am telling you how they happen for Justin Bieber. He also has his Saturn in Pisces. And so there you go. Again, his maturity. His maturity is going to be found within the realization that you need to establish boundaries. And through the establishment of boundaries, you can then selectively choose to build and create through positive intention, positive energy, positive action that makes you feel good, makes you feel aligned. And you can utilize your superpower of emotional intuition and emotional recognition and understanding to, you know, become aware of who really has your back and who doesn't. And, you know, because you have the extra spidey sense, the Pisces archetype always does. And so trust in it and rely on it and use it, because it's always there and it's always accurate. And don't be like, I can't trust myself, because you can. Because even when you felt confusion, you still felt confusion. Like, it's never going to lie to you. Now, the reason why someone like Justin Bieber might not trust themselves is because they're like, well, what if I'm going to give into confusion again and fall backwards? The thing about awareness, and when you become aware of when you make mistakes, is that it's very hard to repeat them by accident. When you become really aware of when you're making a mistake, it's hard to repeat it by accident. I mean, unless you're doing it intentionally, right? And so it's going to be much easier to build boundaries when you just become aware that you need to. And so let's say, or like, I'm just telling Justin Bieber right now, like, just build boundaries. That's really all it is. Just establish a clear boundaries for every aspect in your life, or your relationships, your personal self-concept, and how you separate yourself from the world, which is your ego, right? You're Justin Bieber, and the world is somebody else. And so how can you protect Justin Bieber? How can you protect Justin Bieber's own self-interest? You know, how can you protect your own self-interests? And what boundaries do you have? What do those boundaries look like? Establish them, figure that out. And if you need help, go into your imagination and meet the version of you, the version of Justin Bieber, who has boundaries, and talk to him and ask him, hey, like, what are you thinking? How do you think? How do you see life? What kind of boundaries do you have? Like, how do you tell people no? Like, how do you do it politely, though? You know, how do you do it in the way that feels right with you? But the entire point of life, of astrology, of archetypes, is to just feel aligned and good. Hold on, I was saying something about, oh yeah, the 12 houses, so they encompass infinity, right? And so each house has infinite potential for expression, but it each has a confined structure. So for example, again, the 4th house is like family, roots, stability, where you sleep at night, who you trust the most, where you feel the safest, you know, just like the core foundation, like the root chakra. It's ruled by Cancer, when you're safe inside your shell, when you're comfortable, your family usually, where you sleep at night, things like that. And so it's kind of like that confined structure. But then again, we're infinite and we're all unique in expression. And so somebody's birth chart having like a lot of, okay, let's say somebody has Saturn in the 4th house. For somebody, that might come out to be like, you were restricted in your expression to be yourself in your house. But for somebody else, it'll be like your father wasn't in the picture. You know, like there's different kinds of things. Or it'll be like, okay, you have Saturn in the fourth house. It took you longer than more people to establish a secure commitment within your home life or something like that. Like it just varies person by person, and there's infinite potential of expression within this confined subject of stability, home roots, you know, but everybody's unique. And so that's the thing about astrology, where if we know the person very well, then like Justin Bieber, you know, I'm kind of getting an accurate idea because we know so much public information about him. And so that's when I can tell you, we're like, oh, well, it makes sense because we know information about him, and we know how he was taken advantage of a lot through his relationships, his work, his, you know, his success, his maturity was something that came later out in life for him as well. Like, yeah, just, I don't even know what I'm saying now. I was actually just going on a huge tangent. Actually, I wasn't even planning to talk about this, but bro, like, anything to help out Justin Bieber, to be honest, to understand himself, because basically every archetype, like the point of everything is just to reach the peak. What's the peak? Enlightenment. When you figure out and you officially integrate that we all just stem from a single point of positive light, of positive infinite light, when you can understand that, then you can't go any further. You hit peak. You really have hit peak. And so it's almost like enlightenment is like I'm kind of ruining the movie, because the earth experience, the whole point is we're going to go and incarnate, but we're going to forget. We're not going to know enlightenment, and we're going to have to come to figure it out through 50 lifetimes or through one lifetime or through whatever. But the point is we're just going to come figure it out. But here I am, spoiler alert, telling you, because I feel like in this current now in the world is a very dangerous, we're getting into very dangerous territory. And again, I do believe we're going uphill now, but it's imperative that I spoil the movie. Too many kids are being hurt for me not to spoil the movie. But yeah, the whole point of life and the experience of life is just to reach enlightenment, and then once you reach enlightenment, to have a lot of fun. Alright, so we're going to continue with Eri Moshi's book on Pisces before we continue on to the next book. A super long video, but I love it, honestly, yeah, for sure. Alright, so Eri Moshi continues to say, okay, at Pisces, when they thrive, when Pisces begins to become good at their craft, at their specific skill that they just were gifted with, they were born with, right? Their talent, and they decide to start building positive energy, that they're going to start experiencing psychic encounters and special dreams. And so, Pisces, so beautiful. Super well connected. The Pisces archetype is super well connected with its internal state of infinity, like the imagination. And so the dream world is super, super fun for the Pisces archetype, because the Pisces archetype thrives there, because it can literally immerse itself into realities that feel immensely real. So, for example, if you have a Jupiter in the 12th house, you probably have dreams a lot, and you have really intense dreams, and you really feel them because Jupiter expands and it brings spiritual awareness. But okay. And so the Pisces archetype, you know, can really tell how they're doing internally and what their state is according to what their dreams are looking like. And that's real. And so be aware of that and how your dreams make you feel, because it's your subconscious relaying the message of where it's presently at. And that's what dreams tell us. It's telling you this is where you are internally in the mind. And so if your dreams feel good, you're on the right path. If your dreams feel bad, you're on the wrong path. That's imperative to understand. Dreams feel good, it's a flow, it's a go. Dreams feel bad, resist, cease and desist. If your dreams are feeling bad constantly, like it's a pattern at this point, that means that your internal mental state, there's something that's not making you feel good. We need to just discover what that is. Again, you would have to tell me the dream and I would be able to help you, but the dream itself will help you because there's clues. And so just think. But if it feels good, all good. But if it feels bad, think. But if it feels good, also think, and just focus on what feels good and create more of that. And so, yeah, so Pisces thrives in the dreams and psychic ability to, to intuitively read the room. A Pisces can be around you and take on your essence. They're a mutable sign. They're chameleons. They can shift and shapeshift. This brings me on to my next point, where the Pisces, I've heard this and I agree with it. It's the last of the zodiac wheel, right? So it's 12. And so it's like a combination of the personality of all the other signs. That's what I've heard someone say, and I actually kind of agree with that. And actually it's funny because I used to work at a gym, and my boss, my manager, whatever, was a Pisces. And her job essentially is to train new hires. But this gym pays minimum wage. And so people are quitting every 6 months. And so literally like every 6 months, she's having to reteach and retrain a new set of people. And it's interesting how she's a Pisces sun, right? So it's her ego. And so it's her identity. It's what she identifies with, her career. And it's funny because she's having to go full circle a lot, basically. Like having to hire and then resign, hire and then resign, hire and then resign. That's all she faces. I'm having to teach and then teach. And then like she's having to go full circle over and over and over and over again. And it just reminded me, I made that connection. I was thinking about Pisces, and I made that connection because she was teaching a new hire today when I went to the gym. And I was like, oh my goodness, here she is again, going full circle. Just like Pisces archetype, always going full circle. And so, yeah, they say that the Pisces archetype kind of houses the personality of all the other zodiacs into one being. And if you've ever been around Pisces energy, it is like that, where you're like, you could be a Sagittarius, but you also give me Cancer vibes. Like, how can you be both, right? It's so funny. They give, but they're also bold, but then they can be so sweet. It's just they have such a versatile personality, and they seem infinite in their aspects of expression. And it's because they're mutable signs. That's how good they are at noticing and picking up on external energies, and then being able to literally become them in order to adapt and survive in their present environment. They literally are like Neptune, where they become almost like, imagine like wearing an invisibility cloak where you just blend right in. It's an illusion. And so that's why the Pisces needs to form. Justin Bieber, shout out to Justin Bieber. This is advice to you. You need to, especially with the ego, Pisces archetype needs to form clear boundaries of who it is and who it's not. Because if the Pisces archetype does not form a glass wall around itself, it's going to continue to accidentally absorb all its external influence, all its external baggage. And so build a glass wall around you, define the boundaries of who you are and who you're not, and then follow down the route of who you are. And there you go. It really is like that. But the point is to build boundaries. So okay, this is what I am. Because the Pisces is really good at pretending to be something it's not, and then getting lost in that pretending, and then ending up confused because they're like, why do I feel so unhappy with myself? Well, because this whole time you've been somebody that's not your truest self. You understand what I mean? Like, you need to build boundaries. And boundaries give clarity. Clarity clears up the fog. Clarity gets rid of illusion. Illusion is a negative word. It is. We want truth. We want transparency, and we want clarity. Okay? Awesome. All right. And Erimoshi goes on to say that the soul is essentially, so the evolution of the Pisces archetype is basically the acceptance of, maybe I don't know everything. And maybe if I just stop trying to control everything and just sit back, rely on my spiritual intuition and inclination towards spirituality and towards faith and the bigger picture and the unseen, and my emotional intuition, I'm just going to rely on that, on my spiritual inclination, and just trust and feel in an energetic state of flow more often via that perspective. I can just literally let go and let God. You know, and it's through that archetype evolution that the Pisces archetype is supposed to come to terms with the truth. And what is the truth? The truth was, because here, Erimoshi defines it as, the truth is to just let go and let God. That's kind of the information, that's kind of the message that Erimoshi is giving. That there's perfection in the imperfection, and that negativity is real and we have to accept it and learn to work with it. Like nature, for example, where sometimes things can be negative in nature, like plants die or animals, eat each other. But then again, nature is still a vital and imperative part of positive, beautiful life. And so there's a balance. And so the Erimoshi is kind of saying that the Pisces archetype, the whole point of its evolution is to surrender to this balance, surrender to this truth of the existence of positive, negative, and neutral energy, which I completely agree with him. But I'm going to go ahead and add something and tell you that you don't have to completely surrender without any sense of control. Because I think what Erimoshi is forgetting to add here is we create our own reality completely. We are the conscious creators. We are each the one points to our own reality. And so I truly believe the actual end of the Pisces archetype is not to surrender to the truth and just kind of become a let go and let God person, but more the Pisces archetype says, I understand that negative energy is real in its actuality, in its potential, and its possibility. I understand that. I understand it's a natural and normal part of life. I understand that. I'm not afraid of it because I understand that if it comes, I can deal with it. And if it comes, I'm just going to alchemize it. And I'm not going to let it grow bigger than a pea. However, I don't necessarily have to just sit back and let it roll and just allow negative energy to be and just say, you know what, this is life. Sometimes you got to sit back and roll with the tides. This is life. Because no, you're the operant power and you're in control. And if you want to experience a reality where dominantly it's 98% positive energy and maybe 2% negative energy, which happens in naturally, people fight, sometimes there's drama, and that's okay. We make up and get along, it's okay. But sometimes there's disagreements. But you can create a reality where there's 98% positive experience through the acceptance of the truth. Because what is the truth? That we all stem from a single point of infinite positive light. And so that's the actual truth. That's the truth that I believe every archetype comes to have to accept at the end of the day. At the end of the day, that's why Pisces is the 12th house. It's the end. And that's what the end is. Like, it doesn't get further than that. Once you realize that we all just stem from a single point of infinite positive light, then there's nothing more to realize. And so then you realize, oh, so I can just create or align myself with experiencing the reality where it's 98% positive experience. and I don't have to just sit back and allow negative energy to just be. No, you can say, you know what, I'm not going to align or identify with negative energy. I'm just not going to. So I'm not going to build it. I'm not going to experience it. I'm not going to perpetuate it. You know, I really believe it doesn't have to be a 50-50. Oh, 50 positive energy, 50 negative energy. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. No, you can make it 98% and 2. And I like to say 2% because, again, people have disagreements, and it is through disagreements that we do grow and learn, and it is through mistake that we grow. And so I'm never going to be like, abolish all negativity. No, I do believe that there is a balance still to be had, but it doesn't have to be 50-50. I don't think that's necessary when it comes to negative energy. When it comes to other balances, I do believe like 50-50 and things like that. But the topic specifically of negative energy, I don't believe that. I believe it can be something smaller. And so, yeah, that's the difference, I think. I'm just asking maybe for us to go beyond just an acceptance of reality, because really the only illusion is negative energy. That's the illusion, and the word illusion is negative. And so literally the word illusion is an illusion, because the only truth is truth. And what's the truth? That we stand from a point of infinite positive light. That's it. And so actually there is 100%, there's a reality in a plane of existence where it's 100% positive energy. It's called Christ consciousness. Hey, but you know, like, let's say we want to exist in like Pleiadian level, where there's still, you know, they're 1%, 2% negative energy. And so sometimes like we just expand and evolve and grow from it. There's nothing to be afraid of it, please. Because sometimes negative energy can look like failing at your skill, but because you failed, you learned, and then you got even times 10 better. So sometimes there's use in negative energy. So I'm not going, like, there's still realities where negative energy can be beneficial. I'll say like 2%, but to be like 50-50, like, come on, we don't need that. I'm saying the same thing over and over again, aren't I? Here I go again. I always do that. Okay, like, for example, we're back to the Biebs, back to Justin Bieber. Okay, so he's gonna have Justin Bieber before enlightenment, and then Justin Bieber after enlightenment. So we have pre and post. Pre-Justin Bieber is Justin Bieber before enlightenment. Let's just say now, 30-some-year-old Justin Bieber. He's aware by now that not everybody had his best interest at heart growing up, and maybe still they don't have his best. He's aware of that, right? And so he's aware that negative energy exists just as much as positive energy exists. Like, he's already had that acceptance. He's already evolved in his archetype of Pisces to that point in his ego and his relationships and his Saturn placements. He's evolved enough to that point. But now, and so according to, and also Justin Bieber has found boundaries within his religion of Christianity. He's getting to get a clear understanding of what is right and what is wrong, what is right for him, what is wrong for him, through Christ. So like, through the Pisces evolutionary archetype, he's already done it. He's reached the end of the cycle over and over again, to where he's come to terms with, quote unquote, what Ari Moshe would say is the truth, which is what? That reality is both negative and positive energy, right? And so Justin Bieber has come to terms with that. But now I'm saying, what I'm adding is, let's go one step further. Now let's teach Justin Bieber that, yes, you're right. Negative energy is, by mathematical law, just as real and active and possible as positive energy, and its potential for expression and creation and perpetuation, all that. Yes, yes, yes. Let's not forget that. However, we also create our life experience, our reality, based off our own beliefs, of our own internal understandings of who and what we are and what we experience. And so let's say Justin Bieber now, because of his traumatic past, has the ingrained belief, I cannot trust anybody. That belief, if he continues to perpetuate it and believe in it and bring life to it by believing in it and making his decisions based off of that because of his traumatic past, which I understand completely. But because he believes in it, and we know he believes in it because he feels that way. Like he can like he feels that way, you know? He just feels that way, and he can say, like, I feel that way. Let's just say it, right? Then that's what's going to continue to create, because we create objectively. Forget the emotion, we create objectively, no matter what we are. According to our objective, take out the emotion, objective, energetic, present understanding or identification of who we are and what we are. And what we believe to be true is what will be true. So if we believe, I cannot trust anybody because of my horrible past, then he is going to continue to face circumstances where he's being validated reasons why he can continue to not trust anybody. And so what we would need to get Justin Bieber to do is to realize that we create based off our beliefs, our understandings of what we believe reality to be. And so we need to shift his belief to something that is positive, something that is beneficial to him, because I don't trust anybody is not a positive statement. It's not a positive belief. It's not a positive perception. It's negative, and it's not going to benefit him in the long term, because nothing negative benefits in the long term. Sometimes negative can benefit in the short term, but never in the long term. For sure. That's a fact. Quote me on that. And so this belief has got to go. We got to change it because we create. And so Justin Bieber, before enlightenment, doesn't know that. He doesn't know we create based off our beliefs and our internal energetic understanding of who and what we are. And so he literally believes, I don't trust people. And I'm right to believe that, because my traumatic past showed me why I shouldn't trust people. And I understand that. But we have to also remember that when you were creating your traumatic past, you weren't enlightened. And so now that we learn enlightenment, it literally is a brand new fresh start. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I want to tell you that it is a brand new fresh start, because everything changes. Everything changes because now we understand we're infinitely multiple. And so now we would have to get Justin Bieber to understand we create. And so if you want to create people that you can trust in your reality, you need to start believing in the fact that you can create people who are trustworthy. And how do you know that you're creating someone who's trustworthy? Because, again, you got that Pisces superpower, emotional intuition, which gives you the read, it gives you the tell. You know the answer within you. The only issue really here is not the trust in others, but the trust in yourself. And so this is how you remedy that. You begin to trust yourself by focusing, and you start devoting your life and your intention and your mental conversations, your thoughts, your beliefs, your perceptions, your actions, your decision-making processes, what you focus on, how you rationalize things. You start to make everything about positive energy. Again, we have 3 subsets to creation and energy in life: negative energy, positive energy, and neutrality. And the way to come to trust yourself is by choosing the energy that's going to benefit you. And what is that? Positive energy. Also, information, knowledge is also going to help us trust ourselves. So, for example, Justin Bieber here would have to, he's listening to this and he's becoming aware of what the Pisces archetype is and how he relates to it. And so through that awareness, he can say, whoa, I'm not going to repeat that same mistake. And then I'm just going to, hype myself up, be there for myself, continue to grow from my mistakes, and build and build and build and build and build. And just that way, focusing and honing our focus and attention and tunnel visioning to positive energy is much easier, because enlightenment frees you in that way where everything negative stops tying you down, because you're like, first of all, I wasn't even enlightened when that happened. So I know it sounds crazy because I'm not really giving a clear explanation, but just saying that it happened when I wasn't enlightened, it'll weigh a weight off your shoulders. If you experience trauma, and just you becoming aware and validating the fact that yes, you created it, but it wasn't your fault because you weren't enlightened. Like, it inherently really wasn't your fault. Like, yes, you created it, but you weren't even aware. And so confronting that, like, you get to wash yourself off with so much forgiveness, and you get a new, clean, fresh slate, because information frees you, knowledge frees you. What's the most freeing knowledge, the most freeing information? Well, the most original information. What is that? Enlightenment. Enlightenment. The knowing, the understanding that we create our reality, our life experience based off the internal, energetic understanding of who we are and what we experience. Who we are, our self-concept, how we see ourselves, who the outside world is, what the outside world is, and how we intermix with each other. And so, unfortunately, for someone like Justin Bieber, he was born into circumstances that throughout the course of time just ended up equating what they did, and he experienced what he did. But now that he's enlightened, post-Justin, like, enlightenment frees you, because you're like, now I can create out of my own pure will, out of my own pure control. This is life. Now this feels like my life. Now I'm literally I'm reborn. I feel like I'm living my life now, not someone else's life that felt like it was casted upon me. This is mine. And now I'm going to be proud to place boundaries and to enforce them and to never let anybody cross them without me standing up for myself. You know, I'm going to be proud to devote my life to positive energy and to become and feel and be a beacon of positive energy, to be the example I wish to be in the world. And right. What am I saying? What am I saying? And so I'm going to end it with Ari Moshi's book. He ends it with, this is what the Pisces archetype symbolizes in the chart: the way a soul can devote its entire life to aligning with and living on behalf of the truth. Co-creation with God, reality. Wow, we use both the word devote, and I didn't even know that. That's so funny. Okay, so basically, yes, that's what Ari Moshi says, where the Pisces archetype symbolizes in the chart the way a soul can devote its entire life to aligning with and living on behalf of the truth. Co-creation with God, reality. Now here he says co-creation with God, but I say no, you're the God creating, right? And so that's where Ari and I contrast, but that's okay. I don't really mind. Again, so the way a soul can devote its entire life to aligning with and living on behalf of the truth. And what's the ultimate truth? That's right, positive energy. What's the ultimate truth? That's right. Yes. Positive energy. Now we're going to go on to the next book to kind of give a more mainstream example of how the Pisces archetype is defined for the mainstream media. And we're going to tie that in with Ari Moshi's book and the subject of enlightenment. All right, here we go. Pisces, February 19th to March 20th. A feminine sign, but it's okay. That just means that it's a magnetic sign, a receptive sign, which we established earlier. Pisces is very receptive, especially to external forces, as well as, you know, their own imaginary and things like that. They're very receptive to books and movies and people and emotions and feelings and nervous system things. Again, they're mutable. Oh, again, guys, by the way, we're reading off of the only astrology book you'll ever need. And I'm reading some parts. And it says that it describes Pisces as receptive, as we just said, intuitive, emotional, imaginative, romantic, impressionable, mystical, adaptable, and very changeable, which I think are all words that are consistent with what we've talked about in relation to Pisces. So again, receptive, intuitive, emotional, imaginative, romantic, impressionable. Again, impressionable because they take in everybody else's vibes. everybody else's energy. They're good at that. And I just want to give a quick reminder. Energy, what is energy? Energy is everything that's tangible, which you can feel, like material goods, as well as everything that's not tangible. So like mental conversation, belief, perspective, thought, internal action, like in the mind, is all energy, as well as all external action is also energy in motion, right? Emotions are also energies. Hello, energy in motion spells emotion. Everything is energy. We all stem from a single point of light, so everything is energy, right? Just want to make that very clear. Everything is energy. And so the ruling planet is Neptune. Neptune is the planet of illusion, glamour, mystery, and deception. That again aligns with what we've been saying. And the book continues to say about the symbol. In symbolic terms, the sign is 2 crescent moons connected by a straight line. This represents emotion and higher consciousness tied to and limited by the material world. So again, like how we said earlier, it shows the expansion of consciousness tied down by the material world, or the incarnation in the material. Because again, Pisces thrives within the unseen, the spiritual realm, the imagination, the dream world, that which is not presently in front of them through an earthly matter. However, they are here incarnate, and so they need to become aware of that and establish, again, boundaries. What is real, what is not for me. The polarity of Pisces is, it says here, Pisces is the sign of dreams and mysticism. Its natives trust their intuitions and feelings and tend to seek more spiritual values in life. Why is that? Because they perceive life through a lens of emotional intuition, and so they rely on how they feel a lot. Their water signs, their feelings are what their specialty is. They rely on how they feel, and so that has to deal a lot with spirituality at times. People equate spirituality with how they feel, so that's why Pisces will tend to seek more spiritual values in life. Or Pisces, I had a friend, a Pisces, they're attracted to like maybe tarot cards, or like ghosts, or just like anything that's not logically, third dimensionally manifested. They just love the unseen, the intangible, the ungrabbable, the felt. They love the felt, what you can feel. Because to the Pisces archetype, what you can feel is what's real. That's the truth. And if we think about it, if we go back to the original single point of light, in its beginning, all it was feeling. It was shining bright, of course, and it was incarnated as light, but it was feeling immense pleasure, and that's where the real spice is. That's where the good stuff is, in the feeling. And Pisces recognizes that within the truth of what life is, and so Pisces agrees. The Pisces archetype says, yes, the truth is in the feeling. More than the material, it's in the feeling. It's in the feeling. It's more than the material, it's in the feeling. We're energetic beings, it's in the feeling, it's in the feeling. And it's right to believe that, and it makes sense, and it has the right idea when it's saying that, because it is about feeling. And how we feel is really one of the biggest indicators of where we are, And so it says here, Virgo, which is Pisces' opposite sign, it's the sign of work and service. It's the 6th house Virgo, so it's the sister sign, the opposite sign of Pisces. Virgo deals with facts and reality. They are practical and strive for material success. And that's contrasting Pisces entirely. And so Pisces thrives on that which you cannot grab, but which you can feel. And so, yeah. facts, reality, practicalness, and material success don't entice the Pisces archetype. The Pisces archetype. They don't entice the Pisces archetype. The Pisces archetype says, I'm enticed in how you or that thing or that subject or whatever makes me feel, and how that feeling connects me to the feeling of oneness with my reality, with God, with my spirituality, with with energy, how I feel an elevated consciousness or sense of purpose through my feelings and how my feelings make me feel, So Pisces, the archetype of Pisces may love the idea of a soulmate, a romantic soulmate, because that means there's depth and there's meaning and feeling, and the Pisces archetype thrives in that, where it's like, no, feeling is more important than the physical and the material. I'm telling you, feeling is better. And so something like a romantic soulmate connection just outweighs anything in the material world, because the feelings that the psychic, internal, intangible, yet solely felt, spiritual, magical, unexplainable, like full force of what a romantic soul-like connection feels like to the Pisces archetype is incomparable to anything in the material world. Versus a Virgo archetype, which is like, what are you talking about, brother? Let's go work out. So I wrote here on my, glow notes, I wrote here, operates based off emotional intuition or ability to emotionally read the room. So yeah, fun fact. Anyways, so here the book continues to Miss Joanna continues to say, this Pisces is the sign of eternity, reincarnation, and spiritual rebirth. That aligns with Pisces being the 12th or the end of the zodiac wheel. So eternity kind of showing the truth, right? What's the truth? That we all stand from a single point of infinite light, which can never be created nor destroyed. It's infinitely being. And so it represents the sign of eternity because it represents the ultimate truth. And what is that? That we all stand from a single point of infinite positive light, which is eternal in its existence, right? So yes, it does represent eternity. Reincarnation, why does it reincarnation? Because it represents the house where we die and then we go back to the spiritual realm, we go back to the light. And then in Aries, we're born again, but in Pisces, we're in the womb, as Ari Moshi was saying. So that's why I guess here they have reincarnation, because it's where we die and then we're once again created in the womb, And then spiritual rebirth, why is that? Because it's the end of the zodiac wheel. It's where you'll have your enlightenment, your epiphany, and then you'll be spiritually reborn. You'll be renewed. You'll be a new person. You'll be like Aries. You'll be childlike in your curiosity and impressions, and you'll be new. You'll have energy again to restart. You'll be motivated. You'll be driven because you'll be reborn. Love it. So yeah, the sign of eternity. Also eternity, because when Pisces thrives in the imagination and the internal realm of the mind, that's infinite in nature. If you think about it, you can go anywhere and experience anything in the internal mind, whether it be through a sentence or a statement or an imaginary scene or anything. So the book continues to say that Pisces is possessed of the knowledge that they will never be entirely at home in the real world. So this is saying how Pisces just understands that the physical third dimensional is not peak, and that it's not the real world. The real world is the unseen, spiritual, felt, energetic. That's what Pisces archetype believes, where it's I'm not home in the real world. My real world is in my mind, in my perfect safe haven. Now, when the entire planet becomes enlightened and we ascend towards fifth dimensional experience in our day-to-day lifestyle, and we start hanging out with Pleiadians, and we start learning their lifestyles, and we start operating based off of 98% positive energy and 2% negative energy, Pisces, the beautiful sign of Pisces, is going to be able to experience a beautiful balance of the spiritual and the physical. And so it's going to be awesome for them, because they're going to come to realize that the spiritual can be just as great as the physical when you become super enlightened and you just totally go all in with positive energy and build with that and create a kingdom and ascend towards, you know, the fifth dimension and new realities, such as coexisting with Pleiadians, which are fifth dimensional, seventh dimensional race, I'm not sure, fifth dimensional. They're more advanced than us spiritually. And by that I mean that they know how to build positive energy more. Because, okay, also remember, spirituality is not like some, like there's no personification with it. Spirituality is this. You have three options: positive energy, neutral energy, and negative energy. That's spirituality. Those are your three options. Those are your three subsets of life: positive energy, negative energy, and neutral energy. The only authentic life force is positive energy. Negative energy is a fake, false truth, and neutrality remains still at zero. And so spirituality is just coming to the terms with, hey, positive energy is go. I'm gonna stick to that, because it's the fruitful one. It's the one that has life force. It's the one that holds the truth. You know, that's it. It really, it's that simple. All right. So here she continues to say, part of the Pisces clairvoyance system stems from the fact that they understand first with their heart, and then they rationalize what they know or felt intuitively. So they're empathetic, and they observe their surroundings, then they take in what they're observing, then they feel what they're observing. It filters first through their feelings, so their heart center, their heart space, because they're feeling it. And then after it being filtered through their heart center, and once they already are empathetic to how the external party or circumstance or environment is feeling, then they try to make sense and rationalize it. So let's say they see somebody, they're like walking, and you see somebody on their bike, and then the person falls, and you like watch the whole process, and you're the Pisces archetype. Instead of being like, oh shit, that person fell, let me go help him, like a Virgo would, like right away, the Pisces will take a moment and almost feel like they were the ones who fell. They'll either feel embarrassment for the person, or they feel bad for the person, or they feel like if it was like a friend who got hurt, like they feel emotionally connected, like they process what they just saw through an emotional lens before they do it through a rational and logical one. And so it really doesn't matter who that person is. What matters is that person got hurt, and because they feel bad, they need help. But the Virgo person is like, that's not my homie. Like, yeah, I'm going to help them, but I'm not going to cry over them. Like, that's a stranger. I don't even know them. Like, a Virgo would act like that. A Virgo would say, of course I help them because they got hurt, but like, I'm not sad. Why would I sad? I don't even care. But the Pisces is like, brother, I know you don't know them, but like, that's still a person, and like, they still got hurt, bro. Like, what if it was you, man? Like, what? You know? And so the Pisces identifies with its external environment, and that's just how it operates. And so that it can be used in the good way or the bad way. If we're not wise with our boundaries, we can take on other people's problems and then get lost in what's ours and what's not. Again, the lack of boundaries. So Pisces archetype needs to get clear. What are your problems, and what are the problems that are someone else's? And deal with your own problems, because other people's problems are not yours to take. And if you want to take them, that's fine, but deal with yours first. Prioritize yours first. And if you have extra time, then do your extra credit. Sure, no one's telling you not to. I love it. Thank you for that. But you gotta go first. Remember, we stem from a single point of infinite light, and the only way for that to create expansion and actually be godlike and powerful and true in its nature, it needs to create internally and focus on itself first. And so prioritize you first. By energetic and mathematical law, that's the right thing to do. The book continues with, your element, as in Pisces, is water, and the imagery of the sea is evident in how easily Pisces can adapt to the ever-shifting currents around them. Again, Pisces is mutable. It's like the chameleon. Again, here it compares to the ocean, like water. It can just mold like a liquid to any environment you put it in. You put in a cup, nah, I'm a cup. You put it on the floor, nah, I'm a spill on the floor. Like, it can just mold to any environment. That's why they say that Pisces has the characteristics of every single zodiac within it. And Pisces is so good at that. It can just identify with everything. It's infinite and being. That's why it represents the sign of eternity, because it really is infinite in expression. Pisces is awesome. It says Pisces is enormously influenced by its surroundings and by the people who touch its life. And so, yeah, if Pisces doesn't have clear boundaries in themselves and the outside world, and how there's this distinction between the two, to some degree, when you're incarnated in a life experience, then it's going to fall under negative influences or peer pressure. You know, like the Pisces, a shadow side is a lack of backbone. You know, it's Mr. Nice Guy. You know, that's the shadow side of Pisces, like almost like a bit of a weakness and the lack of a backbone. And so it's important for the Pisces archetype to establish who it wants to be, set those boundaries, and then stick to them. So that way, when an external force tries to influence it, it can say, hey, are you benefiting my agenda and maximizing my potential for myself or not? And if you are, then pass right through. But if you're not, I'm going to have to place a boundary. But boundaries need to be placed for Pisces because they're highly, highly, highly receptive to the energies around it. And so you need to be smart enough to know when to cut that reception line, because it's not optimal to allow everything in. No, you need to say, I don't allow you. We can accept the reality that negative energy is a normal and natural part of life. We can accept it and then say, I can accept you, but I don't allow you. I'm going to put a stop to you. That's a boundary. Hello. So it says, Pisces has the unique ability to get under another person's skin, to literally take on another person's problems, joys, and woes. Pisces can do that. It can in an attempt to remain safe in an environment and thrive, and because they think that this is how they'll become other people, lose themselves, and then go down a negative spiral. And so build boundaries, establish who you want to be, and then build boundaries to tunnel vision yourself to becoming and being only that. Anything outside of it that doesn't align with that, say no. It doesn't fit into my agenda of who I'm creating myself to be. So I'm building a boundary. Nor, you're not allowed in. I accept you, but I don't allow you. So the book continues with, Pisces is too impressionable to each passing influence, too susceptible to someone else's hard luck story or plea for help. For you, learning to say no can be a lifetime project, and you may never learn how to do it at all. Ancient astrologers called Pisces a sign of sorrow from self-undoing, and you can easily become the creator of your own downfall. You're impractical and fall prey to overindulgence. A fatal flaw in the Pisces is the tendency to flee from what you don't want to deal with. This could lead you to a world of addictive behavior. Wow, so look at all that negative perception of Pisces. So all that is a shadow side of Pisces. So again, like how we've been saying, to avoid that, it's just imperative to establish boundaries. It really is like that. And it'll feel good. Trust me, the more you do it, the more it'll feel good. Why is that? Because boundaries are positive. And positive energies, guess what? That's right. When implemented, that's right, they feel good. So trust me on that. You know what doesn't feel good? The opposite of boundaries. What is the opposite of boundaries? What's the contrast of boundaries? Because boundaries is a positive word, so what's the contrast? I'm going to just say the phrase, letting yourself be walked all over on. right? Being too impressionable to the point where it's yourself undoing your own downfall because you just never prioritize yourself because you're so entertained with external realities. You know, it's important to understand you right now, you are not one with source. You have an ego and you're incarnated onto this plane on earth, and you have a life and an experience that you are living. And so the purpose is not to take on everything that's outside of you. Hello, Carla? The purpose is to develop who you are and then be it authentically and lovingly and excited in an excited manner. You know, the point is to focus on you, not on outside forces. Outside forces can always inspire us, but that's all it is. We don't lose ourselves. We find ourselves more through inspiration. Why? Because inspiration is a positive word. And so when implemented correctly, it breeds more positive energy. And so if we're inspired instead of influenced by our external forces, then we can create for ourselves. It's just focus on you. Like, the message cannot get any clearer. And use your external circumstances, people's stories, their sob stories or their romantic stories or whatever, as inspiration. And then use that inspiration to go within your own internal mind and establish the energetic reality you want to experience and experience it. And if you're like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about enlightenment. And if you're not aware, go to my 1-point playlist. And that's what it is. All the information in my 1-point playlist, as well as if you go to my link tree, it's in my Instagram bio and my YouTube bio and in my X pinned post. I have the basic 101, everything you ever need to know about manifesting on those papers. So yeah, my 1-point playlist on YouTube and those papers on my link tree. But continuing in the book, we have about a couple more sentences. It says Pisces is capable of great sacrifice and hard work in the service of a cause or an ideal. Again, they do have an innate desire to save the world and to be great because they do represent the side of infinity. And so they do feel internally how they are infinite in their potential for expression. And rightfully so, because we are inherently infinite in our potential for expression of greatness. You know, since we all stem from a single point of infinite positive light. So obviously we're all capable of doing greatness. And Pisces recognizes this truth and they can feel it to be true. And so that's why they are capable of great sacrifice and hard work if they feel like it's for a good cause. Again, the book continues to say, although Pisces can be impractical, even lazy, they're also capable of great work if they really care about it. The thing is that despite the fact that Pisces works unselfishly for others, they may find it hard to be strict and disciplined with themselves. Now, Pisces is contrasting the sister sign of Virgo, which deals with discipline, strictness, details, the self, the body, the upkeep, health, day-to-day routine, the details that add up to the bigger picture. And all this is contrasting Pisces, or the archetype of Pisces. And so Pisces is the opposite of that. It's not, the Pisces archetype doesn't really give a shit about the details or working out or the physical body or health. You know, it doesn't really give a shit about that. It gives a shit about feeling. Again, like I said, the intangible, the feeling aspect of life, not the strict discipline, hard-working aspect of it. However, it's really easy for the Pisces archetype to get inspired to work hard and to implement discipline and all these things when it comes for it to be for other people, Why? Why is it so easy for them to do work on other people and not really themselves? Well, because when they do work for other people, they feel like they're doing something for the greater cause. They're making a difference. And so because of that feeling that they feel they're doing something greater, that's why they do it. However, once you're enlightened, you realize that the best way to make a difference and to create and help and actually be great is to work internally and focus on the self. So now that the Pisces archetype is enlightened, it comes to realize this, and it harnesses and focuses in tunnel visions all its great skills and and talents and dedication and strictness into itself, and it can thrive exponentially. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I just feel like I have to. So, the way we create success when it comes to changing the world, right? Let me help the Pisces archetype. We want to change the world. The way we manifest that through our own self is through our own internal mental state. The conversations we have, the thoughts we have, our internal understandings of what we are, where we stand, what reality is, where reality stands, what humanity is, and where humanity stands, is how we're going to align to a specific reality and then experience it. So if you want to save the world, you can simply align your internal mental state to a reality where you understand yourself to be somebody who's changing the world in a positive manner. And if you notice what I just said there, you had to go within and focus on the self and create within the self internally. So you got to go within. You got to work on the self. We create internally. The original single point of light, the absolute ultimate truth, created infinity by going within itself. If you're not familiar with enlightenment and you're like, what are you talking about? You must check out my 1-point playlist and my papers on my link tree. Because for me to go off about enlightenment right now, I'd take forever. This video would be like 12 hours long. So, but look, we create our own reality. You can have everything you want. Everything you want. And we create internally. Hopefully that enticed you enough. I'm kind of tired. I want to wrap up this video, but I do want to finish reading what's here. I don't want to cut that off because that's not fair. And so she continues with, Pisces is intensely imaginative and addicted to make-believe, so they strive to create a world that comes closer to their own unique vision. Also, when Pisces puts energy into creating fantasies, they can be the most creative of the zodiac. I think we understand why that is, because they're just so in tune with the infinite potential of anything, and so they can get super creative, obviously. They can tap into infinite worlds within their imagination. The book continues to say, yet because Pisces is fundamentally unsure of itself, it prefers to work alone than with people. Actually, the 12th house actually also represents solitude. And yeah, solitude. And so that aligns with that fact. And so I get, this is more something that, I don't know, I've never really challenged this, but it does align with the reality that the 12th house does represent solitude as well. Okay. And so the last little paragraph I'm going to read before I finish this beautiful video is, so it says here about the Pisces inner self. Pisces absorbs impressions, images, and emotions from everything around it, and then filters them through its rose-colored view of how they'd like to see things. This is not to say that Pisces cannot deal with reality. It's just that Pisces likes to think of life as an ultra-romantic movie filled with happy endings where everybody has the best possible motives. They're a big bundle of feelings. They feel intense. They feel intensely. The greatest strength in Pisces is going to be in giving to others. You're always ready to help whoever needs you. But the best way to give to others, guys, and this is me talking now, the best way to give to others is by giving to ourselves, and that's through energetic law, and that's through the truth of enlightenment, which is the ultimate truth. And again, I am going to bring this video to a close, but please check out my 1-point playlist and my papers on enlightenment in my link tree. Oh my gosh. Pisces, I love you. I am getting to know you in a whole deeper degree, and it's been an honor to the Pisces archetype. Pisces is actually the last sign I've got to know, and the first I talk about, so how funny is that? Shout out to Justin Bieber. I love you. I'm here for you. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, laters.